How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It is Friday. That means it's Nick at Nighttime, the non-spoiler show talking about the books I picked up this past week. You don't want to miss it. Hang tight. All right, guys, welcome back. So we're going to start with the big two. We're going to go into Marvel first, going into Moon Knight. This is issue number 7 from McKay and Sabatini. I don't really know. We're missing our regular artist. It's a little bit weird. Actually, the transition wasn't too abrupt. It wasn't too jarring to the system. I did notice it in the faces. Moon Knight's face, his like Mark Spector persona. You can definitely see it in the eyes. It's just a little bit different, but they maintained the glow and everything because Rosenberg's still on this. So they still have the coloring. They still have the awesome glow that we're used to. And the art is actually not that bad. Like I said, it wasn't too big of a shock to the system, but you will notice a few things in here. Basically, we had a gigantic reveal kind of this villain in the past issues. So we're trying to hunt down this villain. We got Zodiac. Zodiac is around. We're trying to figure out some background on this person. He's kind of roughing up some people, trying to dig up some things. And it was a pretty decent issue. He's kind of bouncing around, trying to figure out everything we can figure out about this character. Lots of cool battles because he's kind of jumping from like person to person, thug to thug. So they all got to have to throw down with Mark over here with our Moon Knight. And I thought it was a pretty fun book. I think the overall series is starting to grow on me a little bit more. I'm a little bit more hyped because we got the show coming out soon and I was digging the trailer. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we have this, we have someone that we're very, very familiar with kind of tailing Moon Knight. Maybe he hasn't quite forgotten everything Moon Knight's done in the past with the Avengers. So we have somebody that's kind of keeping an eye on him from a safe distance because maybe he doesn't quite trust Mark or Moon Knight just yet. So pretty interesting thing, interesting cliffhanger. Zodiac seems like a pretty cool guy. I can't wait to kind of learn more about him. Moon Knight, issue number 7, not a bad read. All right, keeping it in Marvel, we're jumping over to number 4, Venom. Got that cool homage cover to ASM 300. And so this is still an issue from Rom V. We have Brian Hitch on the art. And I think the art, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me in this series right now. But it's weird. Some panels are really great. I love the way that they're done. And then sometimes it's just kind of lacking a little bit of detail. It's lacking some form. It's lacking maybe some line work. And it doesn't really help that we have an all like black liquidy kind of a character. And a lot of this is kind of set like in the dark, in the shadows, things like that. But I've seen it done well in other runs before, in other issues, in other series, different artists and whatnot. Something about it. It's just, the depth of feel might be off. I'm not entirely sure, so I'm not really quite digging the art, the facial expressions, the little inconsistencies in how Dylan's drawn. Sometimes he looks like he's 50, sometimes he looks like he's 10. I don't know, it's a little bit of inconsistency there. Rom's writing on this one is about how it's been for the whole series so far. It's lacking that Romness that I've just grown to love, and I think he's just kind of shackled down with this character right now, but it's not as deep, as meaningful, as introspective as I was anticipating so far. We are 4 issues in. I was expecting a little bit more. This book really, though, the main objective of our villains in this book is to see what kind of evolution the symbiotes can take. They've seen what they can do now. They see their weaknesses. They want them to evolve. They want to see something different out of the symbiotes. So we're putting everybody to the test right now. And Dylan's kind of trying to get his bearings still. He's under captivity. We're still trying to figure out where Eddie is. Is he alive? Is he dead? Is he on Earth? Is he somewhere else? What is he up to right now? We're probably going to find out in a little while. And so, yeah, Venom, it's not really doing it for me just yet. But I like the creative team enough to kind of stick around and see where it goes. And, in Rom we trust, right? In Rom we trust for sure. Venom, not too bad, but I was just hoping it would be better by now. We're going to keep it in Marvel right now with Hulk number 3 from Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley. Got that awesome homage cover here. Man, I wish I had this actual comic in real life, but this is a pretty cool facsimile in a way. And I actually love that one too. We got General Ross on here. It's really cool. So this book right here is kind of exploring kind of how doomed Banner is even in other dimensions. We have this trap that this other dimension Banner kind of laid out there, trying to grab everything with gamma radiation, and it pulled in our Hulk as we know him right now. And so it was basically a conversation about, how did you get here? Well, this is how I got here. This is the tragic story of my life. What's your tragic story? And they're kind of comparing notes about kind of who's got it worse. which I thought was pretty fun. The art is over the top. It's full of action. It's Ryan Ottley. It's Donny Cates writing it. Not sure what people are expecting from this run, but we have two like action powerhouses combining forces on a book called The Hulk. You know, if you're disappointed, I think you kind of fell for it there. So, pretty interesting right here. We got an interesting revelation about who might be behind this project to want to kind of grab all these gamma radiated Hulks and kind of put them in a central location, kind of store them or experiment on them. We have a familiar face that kind of shows up towards the end of who is responsible for that. I've enjoyed it so far. I'm just kind of like sitting down, enjoying the roller coaster, seeing where it goes, and I'm just kind of reading it blindly right now without any kind of expectations other than the next page is probably going to be ridiculous and gory and fun and whatever. So that's kind of how I've been preparing myself with reading this, and I haven't been let down yet. We'll see where it goes. There's probably going to be some big issues coming up soon, so if you're not on it and you're into specking, you might want to pick some of this stuff up and grab some of the other covers if you can, because some big stuff is probably going to happen pretty soon. That's what Donnie does. We're on issue number 3. So I wouldn't be sleeping on it if you're into the spec game. All right, last Marvel book we have is X Lives of Wolverine, issue number 1. I wasn't going to pick this up because I just didn't understand the premise. I didn't really like the premise. It was kind of Wolverine, kind of going back through time and saving important mutants throughout history. Maybe I just didn't anticipate how cool the story might turn out to be. And so this is Benjamin Percy, and it was pretty cool little story here. So we have a lot of like Days of Future Past going on here. Wolverine is set down. Some extremely powerful psychics are around him. They're able to put him back in time in his own time period, but then they can also talk to him and kind of put him on these other missions that he wasn't on when he was younger. And so it's interesting. We have a couple different areas where he was sent back in time. One of them was with Charles's birth and his mother and his father. And there's an interesting battle right there with a foe that just kind of shows up and possesses some people around. So we get a little bit of Omega Red action in this book, which I thought was pretty interesting. And so he has his own motivations that were explained a little bit in here, but we still have a lot of unanswered questions about what his ultimate goal is, who's kind of leading him. We have some hints towards the end of the book, but we're not quite sure how he's able to do the things he's able to do inside this issue here. But if you like battles, if you like a little bit of X-Men Easter eggs from all different kinds of stories throughout the X-Men run, I think you're going to enjoy this book. The art was really interesting. I think Benjamin Percy's got a really cool story cooked up right here. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm probably going to be picking up X Deaths and X Lives and keep going with it. And it was a book that I wasn't even planning on getting, but it kind of surprised me, and so I'm going to stick with it. So that's it for Marvel. We're going to jump over to DC, starting with one of my favorite books. And you guys already know, we have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, issue number 7. We got that awesome little B cover there. The A cover is actually pretty fire too, and I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't get it. My shop still has some copies, and I don't know, maybe I'll double dip because it's actually a little bit more relevant to the actual story in here. So in our last issue, we did get Supergirl and Ruthie confronting Krem of the Yellow Hills. Finally, it took us 7 issues to kind of catch up with him, escape his traps, get him in their clutches, and this is the punishment issue. Unfortunately, Krem has gained a lot of really, really powerful friends, and so Supergirl has to kind of dispatch of them as before they can take care of Krem here. So we do get the dialogue and the narration and the kind of storytelling that Ruthie's been giving us through all the other issues so far. And it's like, it reminds me of those movies where they have this action-packed, like slow-mo battle kind of thing going on, and you can just kind of see everything happening in slow motion, and it just looks gorgeous and beautiful. I feel like that's how I'm reading this book whenever we get to the scenes where Kara is actually fighting everybody. It's just like there's so much going on, and it's beautifully drawn. It's just a gorgeous book, and I think the narration really kind of helps it flow all together. I've heard it kind of bogs it down for some people, or it adds a little bit more than they're used to. Narration-wise, there's a lot of words on the page. There's a lot of sentences. There's a lot of there's a lot of bubbles and things like that. But to me, I'm just soaking it in, man. I'm just really, really enjoying it. And the art is just absolutely spectacular in this book. And yeah, so I was digging the story. We have a lot of conflicts on the planet. We got Ruthie and Krem kind of hanging out. Everyone's waiting for Kara to take care of the pirates that he's kind of teamed up with. They are extremely capable, and they're kind of, the way they describe them is basically, this isn't their first rodeo either. Like, Supergirl might be Supergirl, but these pirates have been around forever, conquering galaxy after galaxy after galaxy. Only the strongest survive. So they are very familiar. They are very experienced. They're very capable, and they prove so in this issue right here. So it's been really fun to kind of see her struggling in trying to take these guys on, because it actually makes sense that these guys would be a formidable opponent, right? But I can't stress it again. Tom King's writing is brilliant in this book. Evely and Lopez, the coloring and the artist, is just great. It's just such a perfect mix. I've been really, really enjoying this so far. Every issue has been banger in my opinion. I believe there's only 8. We're on issue number 7. It's going to be, if 8 really pulls it off, even if it doesn't, it's probably going to be one of my favorite reads of all time. And I'd be really anxious to see if you guys agree down below. I haven't seen a ton of love for Supergirl, but I really think it's something you should pick up, especially if you can get past the narration and really understand how it kind of complements the art that they're putting in this book as well. So check this out if you haven't read it already. All right, we're keeping it in DC. We got Catwoman number 39. We got Teenie Howard. We got Leon on the art, and we have Jordie Bellaire on the coloring as well. We have our Frizen cover here as always. And I kind of have to applaud Teenie Howard in this, because whenever you're kind of switching gears and, you know, bringing on a new arc and you're a new writer on a book, they tend to kind of be a lot more retrospective than I'd like them to be. They kind of want to catch people up, put their own perspective on how things ended and where things might go. This book really jumps into the next arc really, really hard. And so it kind of starts with Catwoman giving us a rundown of all these different villains in Gotham that she's kind of keeping her eye on. And she has a really clever way of kind of infiltrating a meeting, breaking up the party, trying to let everybody know that I'm here now, I'm back in Gotham, Alleytown's under control, we've taken care of that, I got a lot of allies over there, I'm back in Gotham because I'm here to kick some ass and you guys better start falling in line. There's some pretty cool fight scenes in this book right here. The art is gorgeous. It's like a fashion runway, and it's really, really interesting. I love how it's drawn in this, the different perspectives and the creative paneling in here. It is a little bit bubble and word heavy here and there, but I don't think it distracts too much. We get some introductions to some interesting characters in here, some new ones that I haven't seen before in any kind of Gotham book. So I thought it was a pretty creative way to launch into the new run and just not be one of those boring, stagnant transition issues that we tend to see sometimes. And again, I think the art is just absolutely killer in this. The way they use light reflection, the different outfits, it's like a fashion catalog. It's really cool. The lettering is interesting too. It kind of matches the paneling and the color schemes that they've been dealing with throughout the book, and it kind of changes and adapts to that, which I really appreciated. We got a lot of cool costumes. If you're into like fashion and Catwoman costumes and just dress outside of the Catwoman outfit, like her Selena Kyle persona, I think you're going to dig this book. Interesting transition into the new run. It's got me hooked. I think I'm going to keep reading it. I was reading the Ron V because I loved his style, but I think I'm going to keep picking it up, not just because of the covers anymore. All right, going over to Batman the Knight, issue number 1 from Chip Zdarsky, because you know we got to pick up everything Chip Zdarsky practically. And so, as if we needed another Batman book, and I've been hearing that this is kind of like the Batman origin told through Zdarsky's eyes. And while I do agree with that, it just barely touches on Bruce in his younger years. He's a little bit misguided in other people's eyes. His friends are trying to figure out what he might want to do. They don't like the path he's going down. He's starting to train his body. He wants to do something to the city or for the city that's outside of the box. He hasn't quite adopted the symbol yet. Alfred's trying to rein him in, trying to make sure that he's staying out of trouble. He's got Hugo Strange as like this psychiatrist that's been seeing him right now, and so he's kind of learning how he's a little bit deceptive, and he kind of figures all that out pretty easily, which I thought was really cool. I do enjoy the art in here a lot too. It is reminiscent of the book we just got out of Robin and Batman from Lemire, and the fact that it's still early on, people are trying to figure things out, we're learning our lessons and things like that. So it's a pretty interesting back-to-back combo. We had Dick Grayson in his younger years, some untold stories rather, and now we're getting kind of Bruce Wayne in his younger years with some untold stories, and those issues have been kind of back-to-back. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I did enjoy this. Again, it's a Batman book exploring some untold stories about his youth. Before he picks up the symbol, before he takes up the mantle, he's figuring things out. And he's formidable even at this age. He's trying to test his strength, test his powers. And we get some cool interactions with Alfred and whatnot. So if you just can't get enough of Batman books, and you want to dive back in, you want some early year stuff, this is probably going to be a pretty fun ride right here. And with Chip Zdarsky writing it, it's going to be buttery smooth. It's going to be really fun. So if you haven't had enough Batman books yet, you can check out The Knighted. All right, we're going to go over to our indie books now, starting with Kanto Volume 3, Lionhearted issue number 5. That's quite a mouthful right here. Do enjoy this book. I feel like volume number 1, like I've said before, is probably the best. Volume 2 is a little bit worse, but kept the heart and the charm. And then volume 3, I think the release schedule of it maybe has been affecting it a little bit. Kanto would be an amazing read in a trade. If they had one giant like compendium or something like that with volume 1, 2, and 3 all in it, wow, what a great read that would be, because you could just kind of roll into the next issue without stopping. And a lot of those little nuances, those little details, those little who is that and how are they connected and where are they going and what's the plan right now wouldn't get lost in between these like 1 to 2 month gaps that I feel like we're having with this volume in particular. But that doesn't take away from the charm and the heart of the story. This is our Helm's Deep issue. This is our big battle issue right here. And so it's pretty fun, and Kanto kind of plays to the sympathetic side and to the soul of some of the villains right here, which I think is interesting. And I do enjoy the artwork, although I feel like it's a little bit inconsistent. I feel like some of the paneling up close is just gorgeous and just great. And then when you kind of back out and do a little bit more of some of the group shots, you lose some of the detail, you lose some of the facial expressions. Things just kind of start getting a little bit funky and things, like the anatomy kind of changes. But then Kanto gets a close up and it's just perfect and beautiful. And I don't know, the art's a little bit inconsistent for me, but I did enjoy the scope and how much stuff happens on each page, and it's drawn in the same style that we're used to, and I actually do really appreciate that. This issue is kind of like watching Endgame. We have all these different people from all the whole story from both sides have just kind of all come together, and they're kind of squaring off with each other, which I thought was really interesting. We have our backstory about the witches that are in here, which I think is really cool too. Or I believe they're called fairies or something like that in this run here. And so we get a little backstory on them and what the plan is and how to defeat them, but it doesn't quite go according to plan. So I feel like if you're into Kanto, you probably should stack these and read them all together, because if you've been reading them issue to issue like I am, you might be losing some of the allure because of just the release schedule. But man, what a crazy like trade read this would be, and I highly recommend it. If this comes out in a trade, it's volume 1, 2, and 3. Pick it up, read it. You're not going to be disappointed. All right, we're going over to the last 2 books, and they are both from Image, and they're both very hard to kind of describe. I feel like we're going to start with Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart's Primordial. This is issue number 5. So in this issue, we're actually doing a little bit of a jump ahead into the future. I believe the other books were kind of jumping back into the past. We are actually in 2024. We're visiting some familiar places, some familiar secret bases that they use to kind of keep in touch with the different animals and the spacecrafts that they knew existed out there that everybody else around the world was kind of keeping on the hush-hush. We sent some animals out in space. They said that they were all destroyed and that the space programs are being shut down, but they were hiding the fact that they actually found something up there. We have our animals, we have our Leica, we have Abel, and we're all hanging out up in the spaceships right now for some weird reason, and they're all talking to each other somehow through some kind of weird space alien technology, and they're finding their way back home. So basically, this is a story of our animals trying to make their way back home. The owners, the people who were involved in those projects way in the past, they know they're out there, they know the secrets, they know how to try to reach out to them, and they're trying to make that communication. But as you would expect, when something enters the Earth's atmosphere, planet defenses are probably going to go up, and there's some little bit of tragic moments that happen here and there in this book. If I have to say one thing, I really do enjoy the art. Andrea Sorrentino was probably one of the artists that stood out to me the most when I started reading comic books, besides Fiona Staples, I'd say. And so I really enjoy the art in here. It relies heavily on the art to help tell the story, not necessarily in this issue in particular, but the other issues especially. The art really kind of helps drive the storytelling. Jeff Lemire's storytelling in this is interesting. He has real basic communication between the animals, and so there's really not a whole lot there, but the emotions that Andrea Sorrentino is able to put on their faces really kind of helps pull that along. And it's been an okay story so far. I feel like maybe a trade read would be good, but then again, it's not a release schedule issue. It's not me forgetting elements here and there. It's just kind of like lack of overall story that has me here. I'm not quite sure how this is going to end. I'm always excited to read a new one, but it's not absolutely blowing me away like I thought it would. I'm just not sure how this story is going to end yet, but it's a great creative team. I trust them, and this is going to be something to look forward to in trades, I think. All right, our last book from Image Comics is A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, number 4 from Image Comics. We got Rick Remender on this one, and I don't think I've ever been this confused while reading a comic book in a very, very long time. It's interesting. It sounds like we have this secret organization, this like secret main bad guy who is able to put out hits on all these different people, and he has different reasons for probably doing this. We have our main character here. We don't quite know what his capabilities are, what his experiences are, what his motivations are, but he seems to be saving people, but he's completely incapable of fighting back, really. He's been put in a couple situations. This is the first issue where he kind of fights back, but basically we have this organization putting out hits on people. This guy kind of shows up in the middle of these hits. I don't know if he's trying to stop them or save the people, if he has something against them, but he kind of makes it on their radar. So we have all these hitmen chasing one of the targets down they weren't able to kill, essentially, and now they're trying to get our main guy over here too. And the kind of organization that's behind all these kinds of things, presumably, is pretty sick and twisted as well. So it's a very, very weird, interesting book. And they don't really give you a whole lot of details. This might be one of those books where, kind of like What's the Furthest Place from Here, where you're never going to get a full explanation. You're just going to be shown things, and you kind of have to build your own story, your own background behind everything here. So I really don't know what to expect from this book right now. It's got me so intrigued. It's really fun. This issue is a really fast issue to read. Not a whole lot of dialogue. It's a big basically it's a big chase scene, big escape scene issue. And I've been digging it. I've been digging it so far. The art's pretty cool. The story's confusing, but it's intriguing, at least. So that's Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. I think this might be a good trade read, but I've been enjoying the single issues, and it just makes me confused, though, every time I read it. So that's what I read this week. That's what I thought about it. Let me know down below what you picked up, what your favorite reads were, and if you have any comments on any of the things I went over there, you can see my grading bar down below here to kind of place all these books from best to worst, in my opinion, right now. It might be the single issue, it might be the series as a whole, and so you can let me know what you think about that grading bar down below. Like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification for future videos. I appreciate you. See you in the comments.